Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodity technical analysis daily update. I'll give you my financial opinion, and we're going to jump right in here, start with the dollar, 10-year yield, and work our way through all the commodities. All right, so let's dive in. We've got the dollar here, the DXY. Again, it's a relative strength indicator nonetheless. We've got basically a little bloody nose. Usually that resolves itself to the upside with a gigantic green candlestick the day before. But maybe we'll do a double top here and head lower. I'm not exactly sure on the short term here, but usually in a commodity bull market, we see the dollar DXY roll lower at some point, and that is the second stage of the bull market of commodities. Now, if we were to look back to the previous bull market of commodities, that didn't really turn over till 2002 to head lower. So maybe we're still early in this commodity bull market. We'll eventually roll over, and then we'll get that nice last big bull market out of commodities as the DXY rolls over at some point, if it does. The 10-year yield. Zooming in here, we got a little update today. Massive update yesterday, just massive strength. Someone is dumping 10-year treasury bonds. Perhaps it's China. That's what somebody was saying. I'm not exactly sure who it is, but somebody was dumping it massively. But again, looks like we've got a little bit of selling pressure throughout the day. That is a bloody nose, forehead. Usually that's a continuation pattern higher if whoever is selling wants to continue selling. Looking at the CRB index, we are coming on back a teeny bit. We could come back further. I saw oil was having some weakness today, but I know that's a large percentage of a lot of these commodity indexes. And we'll look at oil later. Gold, basically a flat day today. It looks like it's getting some buying pressure. We are up against that resistance line. We got to break through that resistance line. Looking at silver, small update today. We'll see if the buyers step in here. It's difficult to say exactly what's going to happen in the short term here, but we've broken the downtrend line there. That's what's important. Could we come back and do a retest? It's possible. But overall, I like the big buying pressure these 3 trading days, and now we're just seeing a lot smaller selling pressure. So I still think the trend's intact for a move upward. And I still think the trend's intact for a move upward on platinum. We've broken the short-term downtrend line. That's this guy here. That's basically the first step, is to break the downtrend. Then the buyers come in and they got to sustain a buying pressure move higher. This does have a decent long-term pattern where we're basically coiling up into this wedge at the bottom here. I like to see more buying pressure on a monthly candlestick basis in here before declaring any sort of victory. We still have these large selling pressure months. This needs to turn around. The buyers need to step in and say, hey guys, we're here. We're going to push this higher. I have not seen that yet. So that's what I'm waiting for. The XAU to gold ratio, we've been pulling back here. Looks like we're doing a retest of this downtrend line. I don't like seeing this large down selling pressure movement. That usually means there's a little bit more selling pressure behind the move. But again, we're above the downtrend line. We got to hit that downtrend line and then see if the buyers step in and push it higher for the gold and silver mining companies. Do look at the M2 money supply. The M2 money supply has been going sideways. So I don't know if we have that reflation type trade yet. And gold could move sideways for a little while longer until we get some sort of catalyst for that M2 to go higher. They are aggressively, the Federal Reserve is holding this stuff down. Watch that M2 money supply. GDX also following a little bit lower. We've broken the downtrend line, and we've got a little bit more of a sell-off today. SILJ is in the same spot. Broken downtrend line. We're getting a little bit of a sell-off here, but we got to wait and see if these buyers step in and push it higher. Looking at crude oil getting hit today. Now, we're breaking out to the downside. It finished quite strong. Is this a break where we head a lot lower? It's possible, yes. We have to wait and see what tomorrow brings us. It sure doesn't look that great, and it does look like we could potentially head lower in the short, medium term. They are doing strategic petroleum reserve releases. There's a lot of fear in the market about recession. And right now, we're seeing that weakness and that sentiment. Looking at natural gas, I think there was some news that came out today about the Freeport LNG facility coming back online in October at full capacity. What that does is that re-engages us to the international prices. It links us back up more so than what we are today. And what I think is going to happen is we're going to see a potential rally after that Freeport LNG facility comes back online. Is it going to rally between now and the Freeport coming back online? I don't necessarily know. I'm staying long in natural gas. But once that goes back up, we do get that linkage, and we will see, in my opinion, higher prices as the international prices are far higher than where we are at the Henry Hub. XOP, yeah, you know me. This is getting some selling pressure. This does look like it wants to go lower. That's a bearish engulfing pattern. Oil is breaking to the downside. I think that it could come under pressure between summer and fall of 2022. We're also going to be stopping the releases of the SPR some point. I think it's in October. So we're getting a little bit of selling pressure here. We'll see how far this pulls back. If it pulls back a good amount, I'm going to be a buyer. If it doesn't really pull back and we just pull back a little bit and then before heading higher, I'm already positioned for it. Looking at OIH, the energy service companies, it's also showing a bearish engulfing pattern, much like this one. That usually is an indication that we could potentially head lower. Now, it doesn't mean that we know the necessary size of this pullback. I think it's probably going to be something like I just drew right here before we go higher. So I do think that we're going to see short-term selling pressure. In the very short term, it would probably be a good buying opportunity if it were to fall back to this support line. And then I think we'll bounce and go higher. That's kind of my guess at the short-term price movement. It's only a guess, guys. Nothing's written in stone. Looking at the uranium sector, we're basically moving sideways for the futures contract pricing. That's a good thing. We're at a dead period where the buyers equal the sellers, or there's just not much buying-selling action going on. Probably a case of both of it. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust selling off a little bit more today. We do have a little wick at the bottom. The selling pressure isn't as large as the buying pressure. So that's still good. So we have to just wait and see when these buyers are going to come back in here and throttle us higher. At this time, we still have some selling pressure today. We do have a little wick at the bottom. It doesn't look great, but doesn't look horrible. Kind of a neutral looking candlestick based off the size of the candlestick and the little wick at the bottom. URNM basically moving sideways. Not much selling pressure that we've seen. That is good. Large buying pressure, small selling pressure. I call it the stair-stepping pattern higher. So I think the buyers are still in control. It still looks good. We've broken the downtrend. It looks good from my perspective. CCJ getting a little bit more selling pressure here than some of the other ones. So are we going to head a little bit lower in the short term? We going higher? I don't necessarily know. It looks to me like we've got a pretty much a mixed bag across the sector. Some are looking good. Some are selling off. It's looks to me like someone's repositioning a portfolio or something. But that's what I've seen in the uranium index or sector. TAN getting a little bit of selling pressure. Again, we got that little wick at the bottom. Are we going to get a full retest out of this thing? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And again, I don't know the near-term future here, guys. What I do is I cost average into what I think are my favorite companies, and then I ride it higher. But on a big long-term perspective, on a monthly basis, this is a bloody nose. This looks good to go higher based off of the chart. I don't invest based solely off charts. I do my investments off of fundamentals and charts, both of them. They both matter immensely to me. So right now, that looks really good from a charting perspective. Fundamental-wise, solar and wind, they do fall short in terms of cash flows. They are struggling to gain a profit on a lot of their stuff. Looking at COPX, again, a small down day today. It does look positive because we're starting to kind of flatten out here. So that's kind of the pullback, and we're staying above the support. It's looking better. Copper is Dr. Copper. It tells us about the economy. Copper going up means that the economy is strong. Copper going down means that we have a potential recession or recessionary fears. Right now, we're kind of hanging out. We're just moving sideways. It's kind of like in neutral land. So that's what I'm seeing in copper. Scrolling down and looking at the rare earth metals. Rare earth metals were up today. Still looks good. It's broken out of its consolidation pattern, the ETF, and it's moved on higher. So the momentum's higher. I don't see huge selling pressure. Still looks good from my perspective. Lithium also looks good. We're hanging out on top of the support line. Everything looks positive to me where we could potentially head higher if the buyers want to step in here and push it higher. We're also seeing the overall markets be very strong right now. So that's also another tailwind there. So the S&P 500 is strong. It's looking strong. I don't see huge selling pressure. I think that will continue higher. And then I also think that the US Composite Index looks good. I don't see huge selling pressure from this point on that way. It looks good to go on higher. So that's what I'm seeing on that. Looking at XHB, which is the Home Builders Index, basically a flat day today. This is very almost trading off of, I'll call it the 10-year yield mortgage rates. But it's broken the downtrend. Everything looks good. Momentum's higher for XHB. Looking at lumber, lumber looks like it's breaking to the downside. Now, this could be a leading indicator of some things where lumber softening, maybe housing is getting weaker. So we're going to have to see what happens here. We're going to have to watch the housing starts to see what's going on. We've got cocoa futures heading lower today. Has not broken the downtrend line. We've got wheat futures doing a retest move. We have to see if the buyers step in and show us that they are alive. We've got soybeans heading a little bit lower. Again, we're kind of consolidating here at some point. And then we've got corn futures also getting a little bit of a small up day today, consolidating sideways. Copper itself, still, it was a down day, momentum sideways. We've broken the downtrend line. I kind of consider this in neutral territory. We're trying to put in a bottom and work off this downward momentum. Lots of fear in the market still exists, and perhaps some people are still fearful. We've got Mu. Mu is just consolidating sideways. More or less, I would say this is a bullish formation, kind of a flag pattern that is developing. So I still think that looks quite good. And we've broken the downtrend line. Still looks good. Aluminum, slightly lower today. We've been trying to put in a bottom here. And maybe that's where we're going to put in a bottom, is right on top of this support level. And then we've got the Baltic Dry Index. That is down. It's on support, and we have to see if that support line holds. If we are in a recession, we could pull back a little bit further. So we've got lots of information here, guys. To me, we're kind of moving sideways. I think the markets are confused. Is it a recession? Is it not a recession? We're seeing oil go lower. I know that we're releasing oil from the strategic petroleum reserves. We've got conflicting data. We've got natural gas going higher. So are we in a recession or are we not? And does it even matter? In my opinion, it doesn't matter what we label it. It's a slowdown. That is a fact. It is slowing down. And the question that we have to answer is this slowdown going to continue? And is it going to get worse? If it's going to get worse, I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see inventories creep up in the housing market, and we're going to see the housing starts decline. If we see those housing starts decline, then that is time to start to worry. And we have to see it break below the average and really start to head lower. I think that's going to take some time, but you never know. It seems like information is moving at warp speed and that the markets are moving at faster paces, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. But right now, I am maintaining a commodity bull market stance, and I'm waiting for the data to come out so I can see what's going on. We know a lot of people have money, but we do know that there's stresses in the system. Will those stresses lead to a recession or larger recession? We have to wait and see. And you can watch this with me as we look at the data. So if that sounds interesting, give me a thumb up, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want to see how I'm positioned for the commodity bull market that's ahead of us, Platinum membership in the description link below to the website. You can see what I'm doing. You can ask me questions. We have a question and answer session Saturday at 7 a.m. That is on August 6th, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, guys, that's all I've got. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.